Have you ever wondered what it's like to work in law enforcement? Here on Behind the Star, we share stories about the Orange County Sheriff's Office, Central Florida's largest law enforcement agency. From forensics to dispatch to the deputies on patrol, we'll talk to the brave men and women who protect our community. This is Behind the Star, the official podcast of the Orange County Sheriff's Office. Welcome to Behind the Star, the official podcast of the Orange County Sheriff's Office. My name is Jon Busdeker, your host here at Behind the Star. And first off, thanks again for listening to our podcast. If you've missed some of our previous episodes, go listen to those on iTunes or Google or wherever you listen to your podcast. I'm excited today because I have a guest here who helped me shoot a video in this last week, and it's on Facebook, it's on YouTube. You can go check it out. We did a wellness video, an exercise video. We had a little bit of fun with it, and I'm here with Valerie Reed, the Senior Wellness Analyst here at the Orange County Sheriff's Office. Welcome to Behind the Star.
Hey there, thanks for having me.
So I referred to this video that we shot last week that actually went up online this week. You were the star in this video, Valerie. Maybe tell people what the video was about.
So we wanted to do something that kind of emphasized fitness and wellness, and especially now with everything going on, just fun ways to get outside and be creative. People often associate fitness with a gym, but that doesn't have to be the case. So we tagged in some of our deputies and some of our teams to showcase how you can have a little fun outdoors with your fitness.
Yeah, and so we went to the mounted stables, we went to our marine unit, we went to aviation, and, you know, it was a little bit of fun.
It was a lot of bit of fun.
Well, I mean, we had some fun with it. I mean, we had some shots of some of our deputies doing push-ups on horses, and we typically don't probably do that here at the Sheriff's Office, but we just wanted to have a little fun with it. But as I said, you were the star in this video. Did you get a lot of friends and family that saw it and shared it?
Yeah, they did, which was really cool. And it was really neat for me, too, to see some of our unique sites and locations that I don't go to every day.
And because you're kind of new here. I mean, you've probably worked here about as long as I have, maybe a little bit less here at the Sheriff's Office.
Yeah, about 6 months.
Okay.
But recently had a baby, so I had a little bit of maternity leave in that time as well. So I am a newer member here.
All right. So
sure.
why don't you explain what exactly, what's your department? Is it wellness? Is that your department? Or talk about your department a little bit.
Yeah. So being the Senior Wellness Analyst, my role here is within wellness. My team is benefits and wellness. So I work closely with the benefits team as well. And my job is to support all things wellness. So the Sheriff's Office looks at wellness at kind of 5 different angles. The first being physical fitness, and that's something that people will often identify with my position.
Yep.
But I also support the nutrition piece. I get to support stress management, financial wellness, as well as healthy relationships. So I do have a couple different areas that I get to support within my role of wellness.
So I think we should go through all 5 of those things here during this talk. But before we get too far, I should say we are actually at Central Ops, which is kind of near John Young Parkway in Colonial, if you're not familiar with the Orange County Sheriff's Office. And we are in one of the workout rooms here. We have a few here in the gym. And the gym here, I will say I was pretty impressed when I first started here at the Orange County Sheriff's Office. You know, I got the tour, I got to go around the building, and then at some point they're like, oh, we have a gym. And I didn't know really what to expect. And you walk in, it's like an LA Fitness in here.
Yeah, it is really nice. We have a little bit of everything, and it's a highlight of the tour for those new employees, because many are surprised that we have such a facility kind of tucked away in our central operations building.
Yeah, there's no pool here.
No pool.
No, it's not like a YMCA. maybe when we expand on this building, you can get a pool for all of us.
But it is a quality fitness center, to your point. So the group fitness studios, we have cardio, of course, weight machines, and a functional area too. And that functional area is one of the newer areas of the gym, and it's an area that not many facilities have. It's kind of a newer trend within fitness, and it's really neat that we have a space to do some of those exercises here.
When you say a functional area, what do you mean by that?
So functional fitness, really space to do movements that mimic kind of real life movement. So it's kind of training for life is the way I think about it. And oftentimes that type of training happens maybe not on a piece of equipment or a piece of, the selector eyes where you sit down on a bench and you push in a very fixed movement, a very fixed pattern on a machine. This allows for more of a free flowing movement. And usually you're using a tool, maybe a medicine ball or a barbell, but it's not actually fixed in a certain rhythm like a machine would be. And that's becoming more and more popular because when you think about life, we're not robots. We move in a very dynamic way. And so it's neat to be able to train in that very dynamic way. And CrossFit is a style of workout that recognizes that and that trains in that way. And the fact that we have that space here is really, really great, and great for deputies too. Very transferable to what they do out in the streets.
Yeah, and I was saying we're in one of the workout rooms right now, socially distanced, of course, you and I. And I'm looking, and there's some bikes in here. Do you do spin in here?
We do. We do cycle classes. Things are slowing down now a little bit, to your point, but we were doing them through as long as we could through COVID, and they're gaining in popularity and attention. Our instructors are doing an outstanding job. They make it fun. They brought in some disco lights and music, and they get it set up in here pretty cool. So.
I'm sorry. I should say cycling. I think spin is a trademark, and so I should say cycling. I apologize.
No worries.
So, Val, how did you end up here at the Orange County Sheriff's Office? You said you've been here about 6 months or so. How did you end up here?
Well, I've been in fitness for a little while, but previous to this, I was at the University of Central Florida as their fitness coordinator. So similar role, but with a student focus. So providing fitness and wellness opportunities to the students of UCF. I had been there for 5 years, loved it. My husband is a deputy here.
Okay.
And so he was the one that kind of saw actually the job posting through his emails and through the postings with the sheriff's office, and brought it to my attention. And he's like, isn't this like exactly what you do and what you're interested in? And I said, absolutely. And so for me, it was a way to keep that same passion, fitness and wellness, but present it to a new audience. Okay. And so for me, that was really exciting. In a way, I already felt like I was a part of the OCSO family, just being wife of a deputy. I already knew a lot of folks and was connected kind of in that way. So it was neat to be able to bring this more formally to them.
So did you grow up here in Central Florida?
I grew up in South Florida. That's where I grew up, went to high school. And then I did my undergrad and grad up in Tallahassee at Florida State. And then again, have been at UCF for about 5 years before starting here, working in their rec center.
So did you go to school for fitness or training, or what did you go to school for?
My degrees are actually in sport management. So kind of similar here, how to run programs, how to run a facility. And then fitness, of course, comes with a lot of certifications. So in addition to my degrees, gone to several certifications, learning how to teach group exercise classes and become a personal trainer and things like that.
Were you ever like a competitor when it comes to fitness stuff? I know they do, CrossFit training and competitions. Were you ever into that?
Yeah. Actually, my background kind of going way back is competitive swimming. So I got into fitness and wellness through swimming, swam Division I for a short time and continued with club for a while. And that was kind of what laid the foundation, actually how my husband and I met. And
is he a swimmer as well?
We say swammers.
Okay.
We don't keep up with it as much now as we would like, but we did meet on the pool deck. So
okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of what laid my foundation. Since leaving the competitive swimming world, if you will, I don't quite compete. I more just do it for my own passion. Actually, a funny conversation I had with a gym goer. He was like, "Oh, that's really cool. What are you training for?" And I said, "I'm training for life. Like, you don't always have to have a stage or a competition. Sometimes you just do it to feel good." And that's kind of where I'm at now.
But it would be nice to have a pool here at the sheriff's office.
Yeah, you made the joke about pools. Yeah. Yeah.
And so what's your typical day like? I mean, we're like I said, I want to go through those 5 things that you sort of oversee, but let's start with the fitness part, the physical part. I mean, we're like I said, we're here at Central Ops. Your office is here, but we have gyms all over our county in our different sectors. And so I think you oversee most of those as well.
Yeah, so I call those our satellite gyms. So not only our sectors, but our special locations too. So something like the Hangar, they have a space out there, working with Levo to come up with opportunities for them. So
they're just in cars all day. They need to get working out there. I've been out there a few times.
Yeah. So that is a part of my role, is to oversee and support really the spaces. So making sure they have the tools that they need to better their physical fitness if they're needing something or something's not working great.
And it's not just deputies that you work with. I mean, we have about 2,500 people that work here at the Orange County Sheriff's Office. Roughly 1,600 are deputies, but we have a lot of civilians as well. Do you work with civilians?
Absolutely. Both civilian and sworn, I have the opportunity to support. So in terms of physical fitness, making sure that the gyms are where they need to be. I meet with folks often. Sometimes the conversation is, I want to become healthier. Sometimes it is a more set goal. I want to lose weight. I want to lose X amount of pounds for this specific event. And then with our sworn folks, sometimes it is, I want to train to be a part of the specialty unit, or I need to make sure I'm in shape for my physical coming up. So different conversations I have depending on what the goals are. But I meet with all employees.
So for the physicals, our deputies, they do yearly physicals, I believe annual physicals. And part of that is you have to be in relatively good shape. And if you fail it, or if you just want to prepare for it, you help them get ready for it? Yeah.
So if it doesn't go great the first time, then I set up meetings with them and we go through a training program to help them prepare for their next attempt. And oftentimes too, I'll get people, I met with a gentleman yesterday, his treadmill test is coming up later this month. And he's like, can I just run through it with you, make sure I'm where I need to be? So I like to, when people are taking advantage on the front end, making sure they're prepared as they go in. So getting them ready for that tread test too.
Do you know what the test is, like what they have to do? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it follows a Bruce protocol. So it's in 3-minute intervals, working on both speed and incline. And every 3 minutes, the incline and the speed increase on the treadmill.
Okay.
It's a way to kind of test cardiovascular fitness, endurance. So they have to be ready for that. Something I try to emphasize with folks, though, it's not like this annual physical, this annual test, it's not the finish line, right? It's not just to pass the test. I'm thinking about the 365 days a year that physical fitness hopefully is a part of their lifestyle and routine. And sometimes it takes the test to, get them back on track. And that's happened. The test motivated me, and now I've started a walking group in my neighborhood. It is the kickstart to their fitness journey that they do continue with, which is the cool thing.
So what about somebody like me? So let's say I come in, I'm a civilian, I'm not a sworn deputy, and I say, you know what, I want to lose weight, or I want to gain muscle, or I want to fit into, I was just going to say a dress there, but I want to fit into like something that I wore when I was younger or something like that. I mean, where do you start with that? I mean, what's sort of the first steps?
Well, you kind of already hit on it, is identifying what that goal is. So I've had, even this week, again, referencing this week, someone come and they said, I want to be more fit. And I said, great. What does that look like for you? What is fitness for you? Are you currently exercising? Do you have a routine? Actually, this conversation happened over the phone, so I wasn't even able to see them and kind of see what their body language was and what they were looking for. I'm like, are you looking to gain weight, lose weight? Like, what does fitness mean for you? So defining the goal is certainly step one, and then programming around that.
Okay. So what does that mean when you say programming around that?
Different types of fitness, kind of as our video touched on, will support different goals. And so there are some folks that they have a goal of strength, and we focus more on resistance training, weightlifting. If somebody's looking to be overall more fit or just healthy in general, that's where maybe I'll kind of point them towards that functional training first, just training for life, training for, the everyday. So it depends a little bit on what the goals are. Weight loss might have a different approach too. If somebody's overweight, maybe they took advantage of our wellness center and got their body composition analyzed and they realized they had more body fat than they would like, we're going to want to focus a little bit more on weight loss. So maybe some more high intensity interval training, a little bit more cardiovascular stuff to kind of kick it off, as well as resistance training too. But the approach might be a little different depending on what that goal is.
So like how detailed do you get? Do you give them like a step-by-step, all right, Monday you need to do 20 squats and 20 push-ups and run a mile or whatever, and then Tuesday this, and then Wednesday that, and breakfast, lunch, and dinner is this? Is that how detailed you get if they want, or is that beyond what you do?
No, a little bit of both. So I've worked with folks who they say, I'm familiar in the gym, I'm comfortable in the gym setting, I just need to organize my thoughts. And so sometimes we can just, email them like, hey, these are good movements to do together, these are good movements to do together, and kind of get them started, and they're on their own rolling. Other folks are really honest and they're like, I have no idea what to do in the gym. I need accountability because if you're not there, I won't show up. And in those cases, I do set up appointments, one-on-one training appointments. So it just depends on what they need. We can get as in depth as I'm working out, I'm training them one-on-one, or, as vague as like, oh, here's another variation of that movement that might feel better with your current injury, and they just need a quick, guidance. In terms of nutrition, which is that second point that we talked about in the beginning, I work with nutrition. I present in block on some like healthy eating habits.
Explain what block is for people.
Block training. So it's a, I believe, annual training that all employees go through, both sworn and civilian. It's a full day of a variety of topics, and I am there, of course, for the wellness conversation.
Yeah, you kind of learn a little bit about the agency from different people in the agency. I know where I work in strategic communications, they have a presentation about what we do and how we do it, and different departments, different sections kind of talk about what they do. So go ahead.
Yeah. So in block training, I talk about physical activity as well as the healthy eating piece. So I focus a lot on habits and like lifestyle surrounding healthy eating. I can go over general guidelines, and something that's pretty fascinating, we pull up the nutrition facts on like different fast food places and kind of just bring to light some nutrition pieces for someone that's looking for in-depth, personalized plans, really specific to their body and their goals. That's where I work with Advent Health. They have registered dietitians that we bring in, and they meet one-on-one with individuals for very specific goals. Oh. So although I have some training and education with nutrition, similar to fitness, nutrition has a lot of different levels of education and certification, and registered dietitians being that top tier. Mm-hmm. So for someone really looking for that personalized nutrition plan, that's where I tag in those registered dietitians. Someone looking for, healthy eating habits, I can absolutely help them with that. So it depends a little bit on how in depth they want to go, whether that's in my scope or I bring in some more professionals.
And I'm thinking about deputies because, and not just deputies, but I think about deputies that, they're on the road maybe all day, and they're like, well, I can't stop and get something healthy. I'm just going to stop at Wendy's or McDonald's or whatever and grab something quick because I don't know if I'm going to get on a call here in a second. And so I got to eat something fast. Does that happen a lot?
Yeah, it does. And I get the convenience of it. Uh-huh. To your point, they don't know if they're going to get a call. Deputies eat really fast because they don't know how long they're going to, have with their food until they have to get up and run. So,
I eat really fast too, but I'm not a deputy. Maybe I'm just hungry when I see something in front of me.
Yeah. So I try to give them tips on how to kind of manage that. So talking about meal prep, and I always empathize. I love to exercise. I love fitness. I love to exercise. I truly find joy in it. Cooking, to be honest, is a chore. I'm like the wellness professional that doesn't love to cook. And my husband, if he's listening, is probably nodding his head. But I talk about the importance of it and how to do it successfully and how to do it to where it's low maintenance. Like when I come home after work, after a long day, I'm not thrilled about spending like an hour in the kitchen cooking dinner. So I have to set up those meal preps to set myself up for success. So I know I'm having healthy options, but cooking's not consuming my evening every evening. And there's ways that deputies can do that as well, with some preparation, but it does take that preparation.
Yeah. You got to pack a lunch every now and then maybe, or just have it sort of ready. I mean, maybe you do got to make 5 meals at once and portion them out. And that way you always have something. That way you're not like, well, it's going to take me 30 minutes to make this thing. I'm just going to go to grab something real quick. Whereas if it's there, you'll probably eat it.
And I won't give too much away because this is the block training. But also the biggest complaint typically with meal prep is I don't want to eat the same thing 5 days in a row. So that's where I talk about component prep over meal prep. Meal prep to me, I think, it might be that same meal. Component prep is, make your proteins, make your vegetables, a little bit of carbohydrate, and mix and match.
Oh, okay.
So it's not necessarily the same meal every day, but get all your kind of elements down, and then there's different combinations you can make to make it more exciting, but still walking into the week prepared.
Yeah. So stress is one of your topics also that you sort of oversee. What do you do for that? I mean, what sort of tips do you give deputies and civilians that work
Stress management and sleep. I kind of tie in sleep to stress management. It's been a conversation that keeps coming up at the sheriff's office with the shift work, not only for our deputies, but our dispatchers and everyone who has to do those overnights. So we talk about sleep. It's something that I present on again at different trainings, whether it be the new hire groups or block training. And I do speak one-on-one with folks about just like lifestyle changes. But the really cool thing about my job, and I'll get into it now, is although I am the wellness person and kind of wellness rep for the sheriff's office, I'm by no means alone in this. I oftentimes connect dots for people. So if it's something that maybe I'm not the expert in, kind of like the RDs or the absolute best person. If we're talking about lifestyle changes and how to get better sleep, I can talk about that to an extent. But if we're starting to get into some mental health conversations or some bigger conversations, that's where I can tag in either different individuals or different resources. So connecting them to what they need to best serve their problem. Stress is such a big word and how to manage that. And that means so many things to so many people. And I help as much as I'm able to within my scope. But then, like I mentioned, a big part of my job is, referring out to maybe our employee assistant program.
And we have a good one for that. If you're somebody that is dealing with stress or mental health, or you need to talk to somebody, we have a lot of resources here at the sheriff's office for that.
Yes. And UCF has a program for deputies and military who go through maybe traumatic events. So there's definitely resources out there. And sometimes I simply help folks get connected to those. And that's a good part of my job too. Yeah. Also, I need to mention and shout out not only resources, but people. Although I'm kind of the wellness person, if you will, we have several people within the agency, multiple people. And in my head, I kind of call them like wellness advocates. It's not like a formal title, but in my head, I think of them that way, that we have wellness advocates throughout the agency of all different ranks of all the things we kind of spoke on. There's people here that, like to work out with new folks, and they're kind of some of my fitness advocates. There's folks here, and we're going to get into the financial piece that are really well-versed in that and have even more experience than I do in that and can sit down and go in depth with folks on that. So there's people in the agency too, although they might not, have wellness in their title. That's something that they're passionate about and that they've extended kind of to me to be a resource, and I connect them to folks often.
So going back to the finance part, what do you do with that? And why do we even have that?
So financial fitness is an area of wellness that the sheriff's office recognizes that's important. I think personally it's important because it can affect, your mental and emotional wellness.
Yeah, definitely.
It affects a lot of things. And we just want to make sure our employees are being smart and setting themselves up for success in the future as it relates to finances. So what I do when folks are hired, we have the Dave Ramsey books that they get. If folks are not familiar with Dave Ramsey, he's an outstanding financial, really leader. He's an author or a businessman, but he has a ton of resources for financial wellness, and we reference him often. So everybody gets one of those books. I send out his tips frequently on his baby steps, or something's coming out soon about how to manage your finances in a crisis, and I referenced his articles on that. So we give everyone the books. In the past, we've done financial peace classes through Dave Ramsey. We've done those in person in the past. Now, I don't want to say too much, but now we're looking at options to do this while social distancing.
Yeah, maybe a little more virtual.
Yeah, so we're seeing what exists out there to continue to educate folks on this curriculum, but do it in a safe way. But during the crisis, we know that households are impacted financially by this, and we want to make sure that we're still providing that support. The benefits team, again, my colleagues in the HR wing also meet with folks on retirement and how to prepare for that. And so I can definitely connect them to the experts.
That's your fifth thing, right? Benefits?
Actually, those are my teammates that I'll tag in when someone has retirement questions for the finance piece. The fifth piece really was the relationships.
That's right.
Yeah, the relationships. So not only family relationships, your peer relationships, but community relationships. And so how that has tied into my job most recently is really the community events. So I feel that it's my responsibility to have the sheriff's office connected with community events that support wellness. So a conversation I'm having today is the Air Climb event, which is...
Is it at the Bank of America building, or is it downtown, the one where they go up the flights of steps?
Yeah, where they go up the flights of stairs. Yeah, again, with social distancing, we're having conversations today on how to do this safely and what options are going to be there. But causes like that, we did the breast cancer Making Strides walk in October. I was out at Lake Eola with a good bunch of our employees, both sworn and civilian, doing that breast cancer awareness walk. So community events that tie into wellness.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that the sheriff's office has a presence.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good for both angles because we're able to support the community and connect with folks we might not normally, but then it's also good camaraderie for us.
Yeah.
It's good to get, a group of people together, maybe that they don't really work on the same, squad or even in the same sector, but they're able to connect over this and go out and do those different events. So
I think you're right. It's good to get out there because sometimes these events happen. Maybe they happen in Orlando where we don't really patrol the city of Orlando, but it shows that, we are here in the county and sometimes people don't make that connection that there's a difference and they don't know the difference between OPD and the Orange County Sheriff's Office. So I'm sure it's good to just get out to all these community events.
For sure. And oftentimes those fun community events have fun shirts. So I also get to help design and order all the fun shirts. So I feel good when I see those floating around the gym or, the community. That means if they've earned a shirt, they've participated in a community event. So that's cool for me too.
So how does your job differ from when you worked at UCF compared to here? Because I know before you worked with a lot of students probably.
Yeah.
And, students are from, 18 probably to their late 20s, early 30s, maybe even older too, but mostly probably that range. Here it's probably a little bit different. I mean, how's your job different here at the sheriff's office?
I would say at UCF, my role was fitness and wellness. However, fitness and wellness was just my tool. My real role, I felt, was like student retention and graduation. So fitness and wellness, I used that to help people graduate, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So from the student perspective, really the end goal was graduation. It was, we want our students to graduate. We want them to be successful and ultimately earn that degree. So we were able to show if they're connected to the recreation center, if they're connected to the fitness program, they have a higher rate of graduating. And if you come to the gym more, your GPA was higher. We did a lot of studies, and we're not the only university across the country. There's plenty of studies that show student engagement is a better success rate and higher GPAs and a better graduation rate. So that was the focus there. Now it's like fitness and wellness for real life. Like graduation's not necessarily the finish line, if you will, but it's when you're out on the road. It's when you're dealing with someone. It's when you're on the phone and there's an emergency. How can the tool of wellness help you for that situation? So before it was, how does the tool of wellness help you graduate? Now it's, how does the tool of wellness help you do your job better and help you live better? So it's similar, just a little bit bigger scale, or bigger stage, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, it makes sense. I mean, because like you said, their end goal was graduation,
right.
and they might only be there, the students might be there 3-4 years. You might have people here that work here for 30 years.
Yeah, that's true,
and you
too.
want them probably to stay both healthy and shape, and not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, financially, all that stuff. Right. And if you can get somebody, I'm sure, here in the gym when they're 20, and hopefully they can keep coming back up into their 50s and 60s until they maybe retire. And so you probably have a longer range of people that they come here longer than
and higher education. Of course, they like numbers and data and all of that. So I mentioned the studies. We did studies, people coming into the gym, what their majors were, what their GPAs were, what their graduation rates were. And we found that, of course, when they were coming in, participating, exercising, they were doing better in many areas. And so I don't think that's unique to college students, although I haven't done any formal studies here yet in my 6 months of starting. I don't think that is unique to the college population. Going off gut feeling, I bet you if we were to do a study of some sort, folks that come, not even in the gym, folks that practice wellness, that could be playing with their kids in the backyard, that could be taking their dog out on whatever wellness looks like for you. Folks that practice wellness, I think, are going to be more successful at their job and probably just life in general. They're going to feel better, less sick days, etc. So that, I think, is a common theme that we could see translate.
And so I guess I want to ask you, and we've kind of touched on this, but I want to hear your answer to this is why do you think your job exists here at the sheriff's office? Because I think somebody could just be like, well, they can just go to the gym like all the rest of us, and they can just, when I say they, people that work here, they can just get a outside financial plan. I mean, why do you think this should be here at the sheriff's office?
I think for the sheriff's office specifically, folks here go through things and see things and experience things that are really unique, and having support through those times needed. Mental health with law enforcement, it's a big thing. And so if I can provide tools to help somebody through that, it might be as simple as joining an exercise group. And now that heavy thing that they're dealing with at work becomes a little bit more manageable because they have a safe outlet to shake off that stress. And so I think it's really important for many employee wellness programs, or many programs in general. I think they need employee wellness. I think you will see a higher productivity and, fewer sick days and things like that if you have this support. I think the sheriff recognizes that. I feel as if he supports wellness a ton. And so I think that also spreads that message of importance from top down. And I think with the unique role that they play, it's important. A fun fitness quote for law enforcement militaries: train like your life depends on it, because it does, And so I think it's, it's essential for this population.
Well, what about challenges? I mean, what's some of your bigger challenges as the senior wellness analyst here? Is it just getting people to come into the gym or get fit or think about it? Or, I mean, what's your biggest challenge?
Good question. I think I'm probably still identifying that a little bit, being within my first 6 months, or right at 6 months. The first thing that comes to mind right now, and this might be because it's something that I'm currently working on, thinking about, is we spoke about all the satellite facilities. We have how many locations? 7, 8?
7 or 8, yeah.
Fitness centers, whether that be
because we have several sectors, but then, like you said, like aviation has their own mini
space,
gym, basically.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure some of the other ones do as well.
Yeah. So we have several satellite facilities. So I think my challenge right now is to, number one, show all them love. I don't want anyone to feel like, oh, she hasn't been over to, this sector recently.
It's a big county. So.
I know, but I guess just trying to be present in all those spaces and making sure that everybody has everything they need. I often get a lot of requests for, new equipment or new things, because we're always trying to add and improve, but at the same time having to prioritize a little bit.
We got budgets too.
Yeah. We have budgets. We, need to manage that a little bit. So I think that's been, not a challenge that is impossible, just something I've had to manage. Yesterday I was out at a sector trying to get a piece of equipment up and running for them, and just making sure everybody has everything they need at all times when we have a couple locations. But
So how about you? How do you stay fit and have wellness and all those things?
Yeah. Well, if you were to ask me pre-baby, I could tell you my whole routine. So I'm a new mom. So I've learned a lot about just postnatal fitness and what to focus on as you're coming back from that. First of all, like I mentioned, I love exercise, love to move. It truly is something I look forward to in my day. If it's something that folks don't look forward to, then let's try to find an area of fitness that you do enjoy, because if you try to show up to something that you hate, it's going to be really difficult. Yeah. So let's try to find an avenue or a type of fitness that you do find enjoyable and kind of get hooked that way. So I love the mornings. I'm a morning person. So pre-baby, I like to start my day off with exercise. That was kind of like my coffee, my way to start my day on a positive note.
Do you eat before you work out, or do you eat after?
Both. I eat a little before and after.
That's the kind of working out I like.
I do love food. I do love to eat. So I would do a little bit before, a little bit after. So I love the mornings, and I just built it into my routine. I just built it into my, if you say, oh, I'll work out when I have time. No, you won't. You never have time. Like, for me, I have to plan it. If you write it down, or if you tell an accountability partner, I think you're more likely to get it done. So I like to start my day with it, get it done in the morning. And then it kind of sets me up for success. Now that baby girl is here, had to change my schedule a little bit. So now you'll find me working out at Ops during my lunchtime. That's where I've been able to fit it in, as baby girl's been consuming my mornings and evenings a little bit.
Is she holding you accountable?
She is. I can tell already. She was rolling over early, and she's already thinking about crawling, and she's going to keep me moving for sure. So definitely a cool motivator. But yeah, it's just kind of finding the time gaps that you enjoy that also work for your schedule. For food, again, it's that meal prep. Because if I were to, go home tonight and I'm like, what do I want to make for dinner? I'm not going to want to stand there and cook. So it's going to be something probably not a good choice.
Chicken nuggets and macaroni and cheese.
But if I already have the meal ready to go in the fridge, and all I have to do is warm it up. So I do have to set aside a little time over the weekend to set myself up that way. But
it takes work.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. One of my quotes was something I enjoyed. The day of the race is too late to want to win. So, of course, when you step up to that start line, or for me, the blocks, it's like, of course you want to do well then. Like when you wake up in the morning, of course you want to have a healthy day then. But if you didn't put in the work to prepare yourself, you want to win, if you will, the week, the month, the year leading up to the race, not just race day. So think about fitness that same way. If you just want to wake up and say, like, yeah, I'll be healthy today. You might, but it typically, if you have a busy life, takes some preparation.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big piece.
Yeah. And that's why you're here, to help motivate us.
Yeah.
All right, Valerie. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me, and happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys next time on Behind the Star. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to Behind the Star. You can find us wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Also, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Until next time, I'm Jon Busdeker, and this is Behind the Star.